First thing that we do is, your hole's a little unsquare and not clean, and you can just square it up just to make it a rough square. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then you can use the drywall saw just to clean up these lines. Yeah. And now that the hole is fairly square, we can cut our piece of drywall. To get ready to cut your piece of drywall to fit in here, just measure your hole. And it doesn't need to be an exact size. This needs to be, you get your rough measurement of the opening. All right, so to patch the hole, we just have this scrap piece of drywall here. And the first thing we're gonna do is draw a square, same size as what we measured on the wall. And then once we have this drawn out, we're going to cut our drywall on the back on these lines. You're just scoring the back paper. And the easiest way to do it is you use your straight edge again. And once you have these scored, you're gonna break it just like you would any other drywall, and it'll break right on those lines. And you do it all the way around. And then the trick here is that you peel your drywall off, but you leave your front paper on. It's usually easiest to start with a small piece like this. It doesn't always work the first time. Sometimes it may take a couple tries. But usually you can peel this drywall off and the front paper will stay on. So you're left with your piece of drywall here and some extra paper around it. And then you can just take your knife and trim this off. You leave, maybe about an inch of the paper. You can go up to maybe about 2 inches. And that's what you end up with. This is your drywall patch. And then you can test fit it into the hole to make sure it fits. So this is your drywall patch, and you just want to test fit it to make sure that it does fit inside your hole. You'll notice this one is a little big, and that's a real easy fix. All you have to do is you can just score it again, and you can trim it down to whatever size you need. And then you can test fit it again, and you'll see that it'll fit perfectly inside your hole. And what the goal is now is we'll take this back out and we'll put some mud on here and smooth it out, and this will be a nice good patch to fill that hole. And all you do is you take some of your mud and you just put it on right here on the wall. And you can put it on fairly thick because you're gonna smooth it out in a second. And what you wanna do is you wanna coat every edge where your paper is gonna overlap. And then this mud is what will hold your paper on. So you take your patch, just go put it on the hole there, and then just run your knife like this and give it a good bit of pressure, and that will help smooth out the paper and adhere it to the wall. And then just run your knife and clean off most of the excess of mud that's on your wall. And then that's it, your patch is done. You let that dry, and then you'll finish it in the next step. Okay, this is our California patch. We let it sit overnight just to let the mud dry. So the next step is then we can start applying our finished layers of mud. When we applied this, we scraped all the excess mud off, and that's one of the keys to doing drywall is you never want to put on too much drywall compound. So now we're ready to do our second coat. And all you do is you take some more mud and you just start smearing it on. And what you're doing is you're going to start feathering out the line between the old paper and your existing wall. You got it all pretty well coated. And then again, the key is you don't want to leave a lot of extra mud on like these ridges. So you want to scrape most of that off. And by doing this, you eliminate a lot of sanding that you have to do later. That is actually a pretty good first coat. You'll again let this dry. Best thing is, again, let it dry overnight. You'll do a second coat. You really don't even need to sand anything here. You can actually just use a putty knife, scrape off any high ridges, and then apply your second finish coat. And then you'll do the same thing again. Let it dry, and then you can apply a third coat. And usually once you get to a third coat, after a little bit of light sanding, it should be pretty much ready for primer and paint.